I first came to Miami Beach with my folks in 1938, 2 months after I was 13 years old. I just fell in love with Latin music. I heard it really for the first time. And then that's what turned me to everything Latin. I mean, my desire then, at that early age, was not to learn about Latin stuff, to be Cuban. That's what I wanted to be. This is BC. This is before Castro. You know, I'm talking about 38, 39, 40, and that. So I loved the music, I loved the food, I loved the girls. I think it was a combination of Miami Beach and puberty kicking in at the same time. So, uh, and it was terrific. It was just, it was, it was fun.
We had the dog tracks. The dog track here on Miami Beach attracted a lot of people. It used to be filled up. There were probably 10, 15,000 people there at the dog track. And everybody from Miami used to come down there. They would eat in our restaurants. They didn't want to stay at the hotels, except some people that were addicts that would come down for the season, you know, for the dog track. So we had the dog tracks. But the actual play with the casinos were in different spots. There was about 4 or 5 really great casinos. And they're the ones that really drew the hoi polloi of the gambling industry. And of course, it was illegal, but the government officials sort of winked at it until Kefauver came down.
My first experience in really loving Miami Beach was when my father took me to Lummis Park. And he took me gently into the ocean. And we floated and we sang and we giggled. And throughout my growing up, the ocean was a big part of my life. The environment was perfect. My relatives were loving and very supportive. At one point in time, I think I had 60 relatives living on Miami Beach. I remember dancing in the David Court, which is now Joe's parking lot for Joe's Stone Crab. And everybody was clapping and singing and playing the accordion, and my uncle played the cymbalum, which is a Hungarian instrument. And the feeling was something that was perpetuated throughout my entire life.
The people really were influential. It was like a guy, Jesse Weiss from Joe's Stone Crab. His father and mother founded Joe's, and you know, it was one of the outstanding restaurants. Anyway, he used to have people like Walter Winchell and the guy from the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover. And I used to hang around with Jesse because I was just a young lawyer. I used to hang with him. And we were sitting at a table one day, and there was a guy by the name of Lefty Horan or something. The reason we called him Lefty, one of his arms was bad. And J. Edgar was sitting at the table, Walter Winchell, myself, and Jesse Weiss. He came up to the table. Does anybody need a watch? And J. Edgar Hoover says, yes, I can use a watch. So he shows him the watch. He says to, the guy said to J. Edgar, what do you give me for it? J. Edgar Hoover says, what do you want for it? He said, what do you give me? So J. Edgar Hoover said, I'll give you $100 for it. He says, $100? He says, the reward is more than that.
You told me your brother was actually born on Miami Beach.
He was born in 1933 in the servants' quarters. Mrs. Alberta Turner was the midwife, and Dr. William Sawyer, who were both black, was the doctor, came to the house. And but when Dr. Sawyer went to record the birth, they refused, the Bureau of Vital Statistics of Miami, Florida, refused to put Miami Beach on the birth certificate because no black person was supposed to have been born on Miami Beach. And so his birth certificate was never correct. He died, and with Miami, Florida on his birth certificate because they refused to put Miami Beach.
My father was a cabana manager slash beach boy slash swimming instructor, all three, and then started out in 1946 or 47 at the Atlantic Towers Hotel, a small place, and then became cabana manager at least a dozen different places before his death in '86. After school, I would go to wherever my father worked, and I would have a job as a cleanup boy. That was where you took a little dustpan and you walked around the cigarettes, that in the days when people were still smoking a lot of cigarettes, and I would clean the gutters around the pool. And my father used to set up card tables around the pool, and these guys from Chicago and New York used to come down and they sit at the table, and my father would say to me, "Bring them orange juice, bring them towels, and don't hang around. Just get lost. Don't listen to what they're talking about." And they were the biggest tippers of anybody. When they used to leave in the afternoon, on the table was a lot of money, even for today's standards. Tips from my father for taking care of them.